You remember last week when we slammed our action figures together? Well, that was a lot of fun and was also very, very successful. Also was going to do it anyways. But these universes aren't just full of heroes. No, they're absolutely crawling with villains. Villains that sometimes work together. So, let's see which of our villain teams reigns supreme on this episode of Waytat. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Waytat. I'm your host, William, and I will be smashing even more rare collectibles together. And yes, this episode, as you can tell, is a full week late. My computer committed seppuku after a power outage. Well, not the whole computer. My motherboard committed seppuku. So, I had to get that fixed. But I'm back now, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, listen on audio platforms, download, and tell your friends about the show. Also, make sure to check out my friends, Win Kashka, on Twitch and YouTube. They're a great streamer and have been growing, so get in on the ground floor. Check out Mystic Luna on their Shopify page for plenty of stickers, jewelry, and trinkets. And of course, the ever-amazing Captain Cupcakes, the one who gave me this episode idea, but also an amazing artist. But with that, let's get to the show. Alright, time to get into another super fight, and actually introduce who we're pitting up against each other. Well, I guess if you know comics, the teams might be kind of clear to you, but still, this week, we're making the biggest enemies of the Avengers and the Justice League fight each other. The Masters of Evil versus the Legion of Doom. Yes, those are their names. Yes, they are on the nose. And no, Marvel and DC don't care. But much like their hated enemies, the rosters of this team are set in wet toilet paper. Basically, every iteration has their own rotating cast, but for Marvel, there's an unfortunate add-on. Canonically, the first chronological team disbanded because it was led by Heinrich Zemo rather than Helmut Zemo, meaning I can't really justify using them in the rules I made up in my head. So, what version of these teams are we doing? Well, for the Legion of Doom, I'm doing a combo of iterative and chronological, because they're easier to do that with. The first team, introduced in Super Friends of all things, added with some expanded membership from the series Justice, mostly because the Extreme Justice line that came after had a robot Gorilla Grodd on it, and that'd be kind of confusing to have two Gorilla Grodds. And also adding all of that, and also adding all the Madmen is honestly just, well, I mean, look, do you really blame me? Meanwhile, for the Masters of Evil, we're going with the in-universe most effective version from the Under Siege series. And because their team is fucking massive, is why we've ballooned so much. I went with this one not only because of their effectiveness, but also because they're not like five people. It's really the first version of the team to try outnumbering the Avengers. So, let's look at our lineups. Beginning with the Legion of Doom. First is Lex Luthor, a man that, despite being a super genius with endless money, still lets a man with his underwear on the outside of his pants get to him. Billionaires really are petty. at his right hand, or vice versa, depending on who you think's really in charge here, is Brainiac, the alien superintelligence given a physical form meant to catalog the universe, and realize how much easier it is if he kills everyone afterwards. Standing on the leadership pedestal with them is Gorilla Grodd, the smartest gorilla of Gorilla City, a real place in the DC universe. And yes, he has both the powers of a gorilla and a big ass brain. Also, he's able to keep pace with the Flash, like speed wise. He can not run as fast as the Flash, but he can like track the Flash with his eyes, which is horrifying. Next is Sinestro, who's a former Green Lantern and now leader of the Yellow Lanterns, the color of fear. Ignore the Blue Lantern thing. Also, we haven't had a non-super genius on the team yet. Wild, huh? Next is Grundy, to immediately break that streak. The zombie of the DC universe died and fell into the cosmic elements of both death and growth, trapping him in a constant cycle of reincarnation as a zombie man. Currently, he's about Hulk-sized and just as upset. Bizarro, the equal and opposite of Superman, is next, something that would be scary if he wasn't so fucking weird. Next we have Cheetah, the femme fatale, blessed/cursed by the plant god worshipped by were hyenas to gain the symbolic powers of a cheetah and forced to marry him. Oh yeah, shit gets weird. But she gets all the classic cheetah powers, super speed, super stamina, enhanced hearing and smelling, but also a moderate healing factor and super strength. Because, you gotta be able to fight Wonder Woman. Also on the team is Giganta, a woman that even in her normal form fits the exact definition of muscle mommy. But that's before she turns into a giant, and now we're at a whole new level of kink. But she's once again yet another brilliant scientist with inexplicable bruiser powers. Meanwhile, Black Manta, another super genius, has beef with Atlantis and Aquaman for various reasons, and so built and/or stole a super suit meant to help him fight them. He has a ton of gadgets and eye lasers and... Okay, yes, his head looks fucking stupid, but just ignore that, okay? Anyways, then we have Toyman, an incel with no real powers, but a weird obsession with Dust Bowl-ass toys and a dangerous degree of talent with weapons technology. You can see where this combination goes. And I can kind of repeat that for Riddler, a man that has super intelligence and a talent to level Gotham 12 times over, but so egotistical he wants to put all his cards on the table and win anyways. He less builds weapons and more builds elaborate saw traps. Scarecrow is similar to both of them, except he's obsessed with fear and likes to use a scary-ass mask and fear toxin to kill people. Captain Cold, a classic Flash villain, unlike the previous four, is actually pretty mentally stable and really just likes stealing shit. He uses a cold gun he invented to freeze shit, trip up speedsters, and stick people in place. Black Adam is the enemy of Shazam, with the blessings of Shu, Heru, Amon, Zehetu, Aton, and Mahen, which basically makes him a mirror image of his 11-year-old enemy, but he's an ancient immortal being. Metallo used to be a normal dude until he got transferred into a kryptonite-powered robot. He now has beef with Superman and has all the classic robot powers, but can also mold and modify his body as needed. For stuff like jetpacks and kryptonite laser beams and all that. Also depends on the exact version why he has beef with Superman, but that's not important this time. Next is Clayface, former actor turned Clay Golem. He shapeshifts and mimics people, can shift his density around, and is surprisingly strong and tough. Second to last is Parasite, who can suck you so hard with his hands that he takes your powers. Also, he has to do that in order to eat because he has literally become a parasite. It's temporary, of course, but generally people he drains are out for the rest of the fight. And finally is Poison Ivy, another femme fatale that has shifted from an eco-terrorist with plant powers to an ecological activist to Avatar of the Green to your girlfriend's queer awakening. And you know what? Slay Queen. But looking at the Legion of Doom together, their team averages are mostly what you'd expect. Insanely, though, it's actually higher than the Justice League scores, which in a way makes sense. The Legion of Doom tends to be very successful against the Justice League, even in a head-to-head fight. Which, unfortunately, also doesn't say a lot of good things about the Masters of Evil. Speaking of which, let's talk about them. First is Helmut Zemo, the son of the original leader, and also a literal Nazi. Yeah, they're working for a Nazi. Helmut Zemo is a master martial artist and is super intelligent, stretching the capabilities of the human body to kill every super soldier. Absorbing Man, the cone-headed Hulk villain that can turn his body into anything he touches, hence the wide range of stats. Blackout, a rarely used villain that can manipulate Dark Force, an unstable energy that absorbs all light, heat, and can even pull out your life force, and is also an entire dimension. Wild. Black Mamba, who can do the same thing, but to a lesser extent, because girl? Maybe, but she can use hypnosis and illusions and is pretty good at killing. Then we have the Fixer, aka Budget Iron Man. He uses a vaguely defined device to create whatever tool or weapon he needs, including armor. Next is Goliath, who can grow on command, so can I, you're not special, and also use ionic energy to reinforce his body, absorb kinetic energy, and increase his strength. And for the first one, who can straight up cause the Legion some issues, is Grey Gargoyle, who has the stink hand that can turn you to stone, and he fucking loves using it. Also, he's made of rocks. Then there's Mr. Hyde, whose powers are exactly what you would expect. And we then have our two redeemed team members that have since become heroes. First is Moonstone, that has a magical rock that makes her discount Captain Marvel, like store brand. And Screaming Mimi, meanwhile, is the Black Canary, but Manic Pixie Dream Girl. And also Clussy. And also, no, you do not want to fuck around with her. She's actually, like, really dangerous. Tiger Shark, who's only good when wet and has beef with Namor. He has all the powers you expect. Then we have Titania. She's a super strong powerhouse who's relatively stable, giving her the unsought-after title of Douche Wrangler for the Masters of Evil. Whirlwind is one of the classic villains that's fought everyone from Spider-Man to the Fantastic Four to everyone in New York. He can spin very, very fast and has beef with Ant-Man. Then we have the Wrecking Crew. These guys are all fairly similar, and got their powers from Asgardian crowbar wielded by Wrecker that shared its powers with all of them. So you have Bulldozer, the group's hard head, Pile Driver, whose hands are really fucking big, Thunderball, who, because he's black, has lightning powers, but also a big fuck-off wrecking ball. And then you have their leader, Wrecker, the career criminal. Also, these four dudes are besties. But finally, we have Yellow Jacket. She stole Hank Pym's I'm Going Batshit suit and has been using it to go commit crimes ever since. At least until she redeemed herself, went to the future, and then became a member of a future superhero team. Marvel gets weird. And with those lineups, I gotta say once again, these organizations are basically mirror matches to their hero counterparts. I mean, obviously. But like, the Legion of Doom, while not buddies, hang out and help each other and do their schemes literally because it's easier to be in a union rather than not. Especially when fighting heroes are concerned. And the Masters of Evil are literally only ever brought together for a single big plan. They don't really stick around very long after they form up. Again, will it come up this time? Maybe, but probably not. So then, what's our scenario? Well, using the same cityscape that we had for the Avengers vs. Justice League, but unlike that one, the story behind it is slightly different. See, in this one, instead of it being that they're on a patrol rescue mission, it's that it's discovered from last time that this city is like an intermediary limbo universe. So, of course, the villains want to turn it into their main base. In this scenario, because of the abundant super geniuses, the Legion of Doom arrives first. But not by much. Mostly because Masters of Evil found out about it through some fucking stupid means. They got here. And while they're claiming the city by basically tossing their shit all over the place, the Masters of Evil arrive. But not in force. They're unaware anyone else is here, but they know it's a possibility. So the first ones through are their scouting team. And let's get right to it. Bring up the board. Alright, so Black Mamba, Grey Gargoyle, and Yellow Jacket go out ahead. All three are capable of being even somewhat sneaky, but unlike the Avengers or Justice League, this isn't decided by camaraderie or even the best use case for them. Rather, it's a chess move by Zemo. See, Black Mamba and Yellow Jacket are stealthy, but they have the lack of pure destructive capabilities. But you know who doesn't lack that? Yep, Grey Gargoyle. So in this case, the three of them are going to spread out, with Grey Gargoyle taking up the middle, Black Mamba to the west, and Yellow Jacket up the east. Meanwhile, the Legion of Doom has their members at work. While their many cooks are talking strategy and planning and infrastructure, a few of them have decided if they're expecting superheroes, they might as well prepare for them. So Scarecrow, Poison Ivy, Riddler, and Toyman are in various parts setting up their own traps. But still close enough to the meeting area that if someone attacks, they can still fall back. So we'll put them each in a quarter of the general deployment area. In the far west is Toyman, west is Riddler, east is Scarecrow, and then to the far east is Poison Ivy. Now, our scout patrol is going to go basically straight forward, which, given our speed scores, means that Yellow Jacket is the first to see someone. And given how much faster she is, she'll be confronted by seeing both Scarecrow and Poison Ivy. Scarecrow setting up basically fear toxin misters, and Poison Ivy turning plants into active defenses. Now Rita is smart enough to understand that the odds aren't great, meaning she reports back what she sees through comms before switching directions. And she'll meet up with Grey Gargoyle, whose vantage point from a rooftop that he's blending into lets him see both Scarecrow and Riddler. Meanwhile, Black Mamba, seeing Riddler and Toyman, and let's be honest here, clocking them instantly, calls back in and asks if they should move in. Helmut Zemo wants to deny his enemy an advantage, and kind of understands that two of these three are really most effective when the enemy doesn't know that they're coming. So he commands them to strike, at the same time getting his line-breaking team ready. Black Mamba, again reading Toyman like a fucking book, instantly snares him in an illusion and begins crushing him to death with Dark Force. Meanwhile, Gargoyle hops down from the building, directly confronting Riddler and Scarecrow, while Yellow Jacket helps him out. But they aren't the ones that get the first move. Rather, it's Scarecrow throwing a fear toxin bomb directly at them, sending Yellow Jacket into a panic attack, but not Grey Gargoyle. Why? Well, because he's a living rock. He's entirely unaffected by toxins, poisons, or really anything that humans might need. Rita, suddenly very terrified of getting crushed, grows to full size, getting the attention of Poison Ivy. Not wanting to take more of a chance of them getting away, Grey Gargoyle lunges for Scarecrow, only for the trap to be sprung. Clayface bursts from the wall, grabbing Grey Gargoyle and enveloping him. Funnily enough, entirely immune to his stone touch, given that, he's mud. But this isn't the only trap. A toy biplane flying over, failing to detect Toyman's Deadman switch, goes into a nosedive and strafes the area. Of course, not hitting Toyman, but forcing Black Mamba to ground, freeing him. And wisely, he starts to run away, calling in that the traps sprung the entire way. In response, two groups mobilize. First comes out the strike team, led by Sinestro. Sinestro, Bizarro, and Black Adam fly above the battlefield, while Black Manta swims up the water treatment pipes to flank from the rear, and Cheetah charges towards Black Mamba in response to Toyman. The second group is their line holders, led by Gorilla Grodd. He, Grundy, Giganta, Captain Cold, and Metallo take the field and move up, probably expecting to fight the Justice League and instead coming face to face with these fuckers. However, being now outnumbered pretty severely and sure they've seen most of the enemy's forces, Zemo commits. He sends out his line breaker team, basically the fastest and hardest hitting assholes on the team. Here you have the Wrecking Crew, Absorbing Man, Tiger Shark, and Whirlwind. These guys come out charging up the middle line. Well, except Tiger Shark. He's in the water treatment too, since his powers only really work when he's wet. Yeah, wild. Now, given that Tiger Shark and Black Manta are going to meet in the stink water before anyone else, let's break down how that goes. Now, just doing a straight stat comparison here, yeah, things don't really come out looking good for Tiger Shark. His biggest asset, being strong as fuck, is matched by Black Manta. Really, if you look at it from a physical threat angle, Tiger Shark is like a much less skilled Aquaman. Black Manta can match Aquaman at straight hand-to-hand combat. Will this be easy? No. I mean, maybe. But it might actually be a very easy fight. Black Manta is better in every category. Either way, Tiger Shark is our first elimination. Meanwhile, on the surface, Cheetah engages with Black Mamba, while Toyman waddles off. Riddler and Scarecrow in the middle get out of the way for the big guns flying in, and Poison Ivy moves to the middle in a terrifying massive wave of plants. And already the middle is locked down. Rita and Black Mamba are taken down easily, facing down 3 Gotham rogues and Cheetah, respectively. Grey Gargoyle, though, given he doesn't need to breathe, is mostly fine inside of Clayface. Of course, playing it smart, he doesn't let them know that. But it's time for the big brawl in the center. The straight team against the line breakers, plus Poison Ivy. Now, given that the sides are evenly numbered, there's not really outnumbering each other and ganging up. Instead, the fastest people will decide their opponent, which means both Whirlwind and Bizarro get first pick. So Bizarro, being a fucking weirdo, goes for Absorbing Man. Call it some kind of kinship. Whirlwind, meanwhile, goes directly for Sinestro, since he's an arrogant prick, and clearly they're both mighty leaders. This leaves Black Adam, Cheetah, Black Manta, and Poison Ivy to team up against the Wrecking Crew. Now, being both besties and also a package deal, these 4 dudes are actually going to be able to hold their ground against these 4, what should be, more powerful villains. Why? Well, because Black Adam, Cheetah, and Black Manta all have a bit of an ego, and all 4 of them don't often end up working as a cohesive team with other people very often, even when the Legion Doom assembles. Which means the Wrecking Crew will be able to maneuver themselves into good position. Bulldozer charges into Black Adam, forcing him to fight head-on. A fight Black Adam would easily win if this was not the exact plan. Piledriver and Wrecker team up on Black Manta, forcing him to focus down on them, leaving Thunderball to handle Poison Ivy and Cheetah. And trusting his teammates, Thunderball full sends it at Ivy. But he doesn't stick to that. When she deflects it, he also starts running defense for Bulldozer, forcing Black Adam to pay attention to him too. And when Cheetah rushes in, the person nearest to her target goes for her, forcing her to disengage from them and change target. For their part, the DC villains get their licks in, but holy shit, are they outmatched on pure teamwork. And it's only a matter of time before Thunderball starts absorbing Black Adam's and Black Manta's energy blasts. And the Wrecking Crew ducks as he puts all that energy into his Wrecking Ball and whips that shit in a circle wild style, taking out the 2 slower members of the team, Black Manta and Poison Ivy. In comic book fashion, probably smashing them through a building rather than turning them into pink mist. Now, speed and skill-wise, they can't really get good hits on Black Adam or Cheetah, So, for now, they're just kind of stuck in place. So, jumping to Absorbing Man and Bizarro, which horrifyingly turns into a mirror match. Because Absorbing Man, taking the properties of his own Wrecking Ball, can survive Bizarro's absolutely feral attacks. But he can also get his hands on him, meaning he absorbs his weird, fucked up physical properties, and, yes indeed, this is a way to get Bizarro out of the way. We'll revisit these two if we ever need a tiebreaker. But for the fight in the skies with Sinestro and Whirlwind, and it's over. Yeah, unfortunately, as much as he sniffs his own farts, Whirlwind is not that guy, pal. He is far from the power level of someone like Sinestro. Sinestro puts him in the ground handily. And now Zemo is starting to sweat. He's lost at least 4 and is pretty sure it's 5 because Grey Gargoyle isn't responding, and his opponents are assuming defensive position while his line breakers have ground to a halt almost right out of the gate. So he sends in his own line holders, including himself, which is basically just the rest of the team. But he breaks them into a few groups. To help out his forward team, given that they really need some speed, he's sending Blackout and Moonstone to help them. Meanwhile, going around the side that fighting isn't at, he's sending Fixer, Titania, Screaming Mimi, and himself to go disrupt the defensive position. And once the middle is clear, Goliath and Mr. Hyde will charge down the middle. Now his team of 4 going up the flank, with Fixer leading the way, since he knows now that at least one of the enemies set traps. So he's sending the tech guy in front to clear those out. Unfortunately, Toyman did set up some traps, but they're not landmines or something that can be dealt with silently. No, they're toy tanks and soldiers. Enough to really stop this group? No, but enough to ruin their surprise? Yes. Again, he was prepping for superheroes, not these 4, so his weapons are a little underpowered. You know, he was expecting, like, Green Arrow, Black Canary, Batman to come around over here, not, this. Taking cue from Grodd, Metallo, Toyman, and Scarecrow are dispatched to deal with them. Now, unlike last time, Scarecrow's Fear Toxin will absolutely work. And given that he doesn't give a single fuck about anyone or anything else, including his own safety, he'll lob that shit right in there immediately. Now, given that Scarecrow is immune and so is Metallo, and that Zemo is fiercely disciplined, they're the only 3 not 2 affected. Screaming Mimi, Titania, Toyman, and Fixer, however, are affected. Badly. And, this will not end well for anyone. Seeing the person with a supersonic scream having a panic attack, Zemo will run away like Skeletor and get in cover. Thinking they're real fucking smart, Metallo and Scarecrow pursue, thinking he's just running away. Getting directly in the blast radius as Screaming Mimi unleashes the full brunt of her powers, which takes out everyone on that side of the fight except for Metallo and Titania, while severely injuring but not killing Helmut Zemo because he ran away. We'll get back to Titania's and Metallo's brawl in a moment. In the center of the field, Blackout and Moonstone arrive to help out against Cheetah, Black Adam, and Sinestro. And while it's tempting to have Blackout very quickly end the fight with Cheetah and Black Adam, he's here to fight Sinestro, because their power sets literally actually cancel each other out. And here's the deal. Under normal circumstances, Blackout gets his shit absolutely rocked. Sinestro is a warrior wielding a weapon that feasts on and manifests fear with essentially unlimited battery and super intelligence. Blackout is a questionably reliable mercenary corrupted by a dimension of pure negative energy and darkness. But Dark Force quite literally dissolves light constructs. And while it itself also dissolves, Blackout Sinestro can manifest at similar speeds. And heavily leaning on his power ring doesn't do Sinestro any good here. Moonstone, using her very wide range of powers and speed, allows the Wrecking Crew to be able to catch up to Cheetah and Black Adam. Now, as an ancient warrior blessed by the Egyptian gods, and a cheetah woman blessed by the ancient god of the green, they're not pushovers. But between Moonstone catching them with her speed, increasing gravity on them and throwing in a few hits, and Thunderball playing defense and absorbing energy. Eventually, they both do fall, leaving the Wrecking Crew on their last legs and needing to recover. Which is unfortunate for them, because no fucking way Sinestro is losing the Blackout. Realizing fairly quickly that he's not going to be able to use his big and flashy light constructs, he starts getting more subtle, summoning big effects to distract Blackout while using small strands and tendrils to build an attack behind him. And since Blackout doesn't have an aura of energy protecting him, the yellow lantern dagger in the back of his head does its work. And then Sinestro turns his attention to the Wrecking Crew. At least until Mr. Hyde, tired of waiting like a good boy, comes soaring through the fucking sky and smashes him right into the middle of Clayface, freeing Grey Gargoyle and starting probably one of the most crowd-controlly annoying fights ever. And Goliath, not hearing his cue, assumes it's time to go and comes out swinging. At the Legion of Doom's last line of defense, we have a quickly recovering Wrecking Crew charging in, Moonstone, Grey Gargoyle, and Goliath facing off against Solomon Grundy, Giganta, Captain Cold, Gorilla Grodd, Riddler, and making his presence known, Brainiac. Elsewhere, Titania and Metallo brawl, with the whole kryptonite gimmick not really helping Metallo in any meaningful way. But between her injuries and Metallo fighting people stronger and more skilled than her routinely, unfortunately Titania will not win this fight. But if you notice, further to the southern end of the battlefield, we see Lex Luthor standing over Zemo, monologuing. And really unable to do anything about it, Zemo just has to listen. Now he knows how Cat feels when he monologues, and he fucking hates it. This is going to go on for a while. Meanwhile, Brainiac has sent Parasite out to free up Bizarro. And this is the end of Absorbing Man, as Parasite sucks him dry in the least sexy way you can imagine. And now he, with Bizarro and Absorbing Man's powers, jump back in. On the front lines, Grey Gargoyle basically immediately turns Solomon Grundy to stone, and Goliath knocks the fuck out Giganta. The Wrecking Crew and Moonstone move in on the squishy backline, only to be mauled by a gorilla and thrown around by Brainiac's brain blasts. Yeah, shit doesn't go well for them. Seeing their power of teamwork, Brainiac literally tosses each member of the Wrecking Crew somewhere else. Wrecker gets tossed to Bizarro and Parasite, he throws Piledriver to Lex, launches Thunderball into the middle of the Clayface, and then peels Bulldozer's skin like an orange. And at that point, seeing the writing on the wall, Moonstone and Goliath begin retreating, only to get caught up by Bizarro and Parasite. Yikes, that ended poorly. Look, being fully honest, this fight could have ended so much sooner. I thought I bought the Masters of Evil a lot of Fiat. And I picked this incarnation because they were the ones I thought were the coolest without creating too massive of a team. But there's a lot of incarnations and also a lot of cool one-off or D-lister villains that get their moment because of the team. And the Legion of Doom, despite whipping shit this fight, also have a lot of incarnations. One of them might have lost. Regardless, comment below your own super fights and let me know who you think should have won this one. Also, let me know if any in the future. I have a couple ideas already. I love to have the conversation. Anyways, thank you so much for watching and listening. If you have opinions, improvements, corrections, and anything else you want to talk about, comment below or email me at waytatpods@gmail.com. That is WAYTATPODS@gmail.com. And remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. And follow my podcast feed for audio versions. Come back next time when we do some chemistry. Jesse, it's time to cook. Have a good night. Don't murder. Have fun. And remember, crime doesn't pay. Usually. Sometimes. Tends to be gig work, actually. This has been Why Are You Talking About This? And I've been your host, William. Good night.